Welcome back to the deep dive. We've got a wild story you guys sent in.
Oh, yeah.
It's a YouTube video about a landlord's crazy experience with a nightmare tenant.
Ooh.
Get ready for some roommate drama, questionable legal tactics, and a healthy dose of what were they thinking?
I'm intrigued already. This is going to be good.
It really is a fascinating look at how fast things can escalate.
Yeah.
From something simple to an all-out war,
It happens all the time.
especially with legal stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Personal boundaries,
Yeah.
and just basic human psychology.
It's a recipe for disaster.
So the video is from the landlord, and
Yeah.
he's got two tenants.
Okay.
Good tenant. And, well, let's just call her Milo. Milo. Things go south right away when Milo stops paying rent.
Classic.
It's interesting how the landlord approaches the eviction process
Yeah.
right from the get-go.
He knows. It can be a
Yeah.
nightmare.
Yeah, he knows it could be this long, drawn-out legal battle.
Right.
So he starts looking at alternative ways to get Milo out. This is where it gets tricky. Because you've got legal obligations butting up against the desire for a quick solution.
Oh, yeah. You see that a lot.
The landlord even calls it. Playing the Uno reverse card,
Yuck.
he and Good Tenant decide to make Milo's life so miserable that she leaves on her own.
Oh, wow.
And their strategy, it gets creative.
Okay, I'm listening.
This is where the not in the lease game starts.
On the lease.
They remove everything that's not in the lease.
What do you mean everything?
I'm talking furniture, kitchen stuff, even the shower head.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
It's almost comical.
I mean, how is that even legal?
That's a great question. I mean, it definitely pushes the limits of what's allowed.
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't hold up in court. Landlords have to provide a habitable living space,
Oh,
whether it's in the lease or not.
Exactly.
Imagine trying to argue that a shower head isn't essential.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a gray area.
It's a big gray area.
It raises some ethical questions, too. I mean, sure, Milo's being a pain. But does that justify these kinds of tactics?
It's tricky.
It really shows the moral dilemmas that landlords face sometimes.
Oh, for sure.
It's tough. You want to be fair, but you also have to protect yourself.
You do.
It's easy to see how frustration can lead to unconventional solutions.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, there are legal and ethical boundaries.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you could end up in even bigger trouble.
Exactly.
And speaking of trouble, things take a turn
What happens?
when Milo suddenly coughs up most of the rent.
What? I know.
After all that.
Totally derails the eviction plan.
Wow.
Talk about a power shift.
She knew exactly what to do.
It's like she's playing chess. Yeah, and the landlord is playing checkers.
Interesting analogy.
So now he has to get even more creative to get her out.
So what does he do?
He goes all in on what he calls psychological warfare.
Oh, boy.
He's analyzing Milo's personality,
Yeah.
her finances, every little quirk, trying to figure out her next move.
This is getting intense. It's like he's become an amateur psychologist
Right.
trying to use what he knows to manipulate her into leaving.
That's interesting.
But is it effective? And is it even ethical?
Good questions.
It's definitely risky. It takes a lot of understanding
Yeah,
of human behavior.
it does.
And even then, there's no guarantee it'll work.
Right.
Plus, it could backfire
Oh, yeah.
big time.
It could make things worse.
Exactly. And we have to remember, this is still a real person
A human being.
with her own complexities.
Agreed, ma'am.
Reducing someone to a set of behaviors can be dehumanizing
It can,
and lead to even more conflict.
for sure.
And let's not forget about Good Tenant.
Oh, yeah. What about her?
Her real name is Claire.
Okay.
And Milo's behavior isn't just affecting the landlord.
Yeah.
She's constantly blaming Claire
For everything.
for everything.
Even things that aren't her fault.
Yeah, even stuff the landlord is doing.
Wow, that's messed up.
It's classic projection
Mm.
and manipulation. It's how Milo shifts blame, avoids responsibility, and creates chaos.
It's a common tactic.
Like the broken door lock.
Tell me about it.
The landlord took it off.
Mhm.
But Milo insists it's Claire's fault.
Oh, come on.
And you know what the landlord does?
Why?
He leaves the Fritos
The Fritos.
and a pot lid as the only light things in the kitchen.
Really?
It's like a power move,
Ah,
using her own complaints against her.
that's kind of brilliant,
It is,
but also kind of risky.
right?
It could escalate things further.
It could.
It's like a form of retaliation.
Yeah, it's a tough call. It's a reminder that even in conflict, you got to stay objective.
Right.
Don't get caught up in the emotional stuff.
Easier said than done.
Oh, definitely. But it seems like this story's about to get very emotional.
Ooh, I'm on the edge of my seat. It's crazy how this is affecting Claire, too.
Yeah.
The good tenant.
Yeah, Claire.
She reaches her breaking point.
Oh, yeah.
Milo keeps getting more aggressive, so Claire calls the cops.
Seems reasonable,
Right.
but it totally backfires. No way. What
What?
happened?
Milo somehow turns the whole thing around.
Oh.
She makes herself look like the victim.
Oh, wow.
The police, they're stuck in the middle of this
No.
whole mess,
Why?
and they end up siding with Milo.
No.
They even threaten the landlord.
Are you serious?
It's crazy. This whole thing, it just shows how complicated it can be
Absolutely.
to involve the police
Yeah.
in these kinds of disputes.
It's not always clear-cut.
Right.
What seems like harassment to Claire, it
Mhm.
becomes a he said, she said for the police.
And Milo.
Yeah.
She knows how to manipulate the situation.
Unfortunately, yeah.
It works in her favor.
So what happens next?
Okay, so picture this. The landlord is out with friends watching election coverage,
Okay.
and he gets a call
From the cops.
from the police demanding he return the shower head.
You've got to be kidding me.
I know, right? He's miles away,
Mhm.
totally caught off guard.
That's unbelievable.
This whole thing, it shows how unpredictable these situations are.
Yeah. The landlord, he tried to use the lease
Yeah,
as a way to control things,
right.
but it backfired. It became a weapon against him.
That's a good point.
It's a lesson in the limits of legal documents.
Sometimes they don't work.
Yeah, when you're dealing with someone who knows how to exploit them.
Exactly.
And poor Claire, she's caught in the middle.
I feel so bad for her.
She started as a good tenant,
Mm-hmm.
just trying to live her life.
Right.
But now she's afraid to leave her room.
Seriously.
She ends up barricading herself in the master bedroom.
Wow.
It's sad because it shows the emotional impact of these conflicts.
Yeah.
It affects everyone involved.
Absolutely.
Claire's sense of safety, her well-being, it's been shattered.
I can't imagine.
It shows how important it is
Yeah.
to set boundaries and prioritize your safety.
Especially in a volatile
So
situation.
this story, it's not just about property or legal stuff.
It's about people.
It's about real fear
Oh.
and anxiety. The landlord, he decides to retreat.
Retreat.
He can't deal with the police. And Milo,
So he leaves.
he turns his car into like a temporary escape pod.
What?
He's into car camping.
Seriously.
It's his coping mechanism.
Yeah, that's unconventional.
I know.
But I get it.
He's trying to protect himself and Claire while staying sane.
It's a lot to handle.
It is.
So this retreat, it changes his perspective a bit.
In what way?
Well, Milo mentions staying with mommy and daddy. And it triggers something in the landlord.
What do you mean?
He feels sympathy for her.
Sympathy.
He realizes that. Unlike him, Milo has no support system.
No family, no friends, nowhere to go. It's a moment of humanity. It doesn't excuse Milo's behavior,
Of course not.
but it adds another layer to the story.
Right.
It shows that even in conflict, you can still see the pain of the person causing harm.
That's a good point.
Difficult behaviors often come from deeper issues.
That's true.
We don't know Milo's whole story, but we see a glimpse of what might be going on.
Her isolation, her lack
Yeah.
of support.
It makes you wonder how she ended up here with no one to turn to.
It's a sad thought.
It's a reminder that everyone has a story, even those who make our lives difficult.
So true.
And with that unexpected empathy, we're left with a standoff.
A standoff.
Milo is alone in the empty house. Claire is in the master bedroom.
Still scared?
Yeah, barricaded inside.
It's a tense situation.
It's unsustainable. How will this even resolve?
This is like a movie or something.
Seriously.
Milo alone in this empty house.
It is.
And Claire's holed up in the bedroom.
You can cut the tension with a knife
I bet it.
after everything the landlord tried.
Eviction?
Yeah, the legal stuff.
The psychology stuff?
Even escaping to his car.
Nothing worked.
It feels like he's run out of options.
It does, doesn't it?
He wants Milo out, but not if it puts Claire in danger.
That's a tough spot.
This isn't how we expect things to go.
What do you mean?
We want the bad guy to lose.
Oh, right.
We want a happy ending.
But life isn't always like that.
It's messy.
It is.
This case shows how limited the law can be.
Especially with people problems.
Yeah, sometimes the rules don't cover every situation.
Makes sense.
And even when they do, the process is slow. Sometimes you just gotta minimize the damage,
Yeah.
even if it's not a perfect win.
That's what the landlord is realizing.
I think this whole story, is a warning for everyone
About what?
about dealing with difficult people.
Oh, yeah.
It shows how fast things can go bad
Uh-huh.
and how important boundaries are.
Right from the beginning.
We've seen what happens when you don't act
The emotional toll
on everyone
and the frustration.
when there's no good solution.
It's tough.
What are the big takeaways today?
Well, first, communication is key.
Yeah.
Whether you're a landlord or a tenant, talk openly and honestly.
From day one.
It prevents so many problems.
Absolutely.
And know your rights, understand the lease, know the local laws.
Knowledge is power.
Exactly.
But maybe, most importantly, remember empathy.
Even for the difficult people.
Right. Not excusing bad behavior, but understanding everyone's got their own thing going on.
Their own story.
That's a good point.
We've been through a lot today.
We have, haven't we?
From laughing to getting frustrated to actually feeling worried.
This deep dive has been a roller coaster
But I think we learned a lot.
about roommate conflicts,
Mm-hmm.
the legal side of things, and taking care of ourselves.
It's important.
This has given us all a lot to think about.
I hope so.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.